Hello and welcome back to another week of Bite-Sized Movements with AJ. Today I am going to be going over reports that are useful when you are trying to increase traffic to your site using SEO. So let's get started. This video is going to make a few assumptions for what we're going to talk about. The first is that you have Google Analytics set up, and the second is that you have Search Console set up. If you don't have either of those things done, then the rest of this video is not going to make a lot of sense. If you have one done but not the other, it might make some sense. So once you have Google Analytics and Search Console set up, you can tie them together. Search Console is a tool provided by Google based around the search experience. It has a lot of information in there from the queries people are looking for that your site is showing up for, what landing pages are showing up, which pages on your site are indexed, any problems with that indexing, and tips and advice for having your pages show up better. The advice comes in the form of page experience and core web vitals, which will go over some things you can do to improve speed and the reliability of your website, as well as the appearance in search. From there, you also have the ability to do a URL inspection where you can put in a URL from your site and see how it shows up in the Google search results, what it would show up for, and then also whether or not it is in the index. And from there, you can request that it is indexed whenever you are posting something specifically for SEO. I do recommend doing this as it'll give you a little bit of a boost on getting your page in there. Otherwise, any content you post on the site may take up to a week to show up. Google Search Console is also a little more delayed on reporting than regular analytics is. So make sure you keep that in mind when you are looking at the reports, that it is not the previous day. It's usually 1 to 2 days behind as opposed to Google Analytics, which you have real-time access to. When you connect Google Analytics and Search Console, there are a few reports that get pulled over into Google Analytics automatically. The first is your landing page report. So your landing page report is going to be one of the most helpful ones listed. That will tell you which landing pages are showing up in the search results, how often they're showing up, which would be your impressions, the average position that they are showing up in, and then how many clicks and what the click-through rate is. So that can be very useful because you can see which pages are doing well by themselves. The second report is queries. So queries tells you what search terms people are typing into Google that your site is showing up for. How many times your site has shown up for that query, which is your impressions in that case, how many people have clicked on it, which is your clicks, and what the click-through rate is, and what the average position is. Much to the frustration of a lot of marketers, those two reports are not tied together. You cannot see which landing pages are showing up for which queries because Google felt that that revealed too much information about the end user and could be used to track specific users, so that is blocked. However, with a little bit of sleuthing, you can kind of figure out which landing pages are showing up for which queries. For instance, for us, we have a blog post from way back when about how to use Wix, and when we show up in search results, one thing that we show up for a lot is how to use Wix. We don't have a lot of pages about Wix on our website. We just have a few blog posts, and that one is the only one that shows up in the search results. So it's pretty easy to tell that that's what the query is. So you can use some backwards engineering to get there, but it is not given to you. Both those reports are extremely useful because with the query report, you can track overall how you're doing in search results. Search results are different from anyone. It used to be that someone who was doing SEO on the site would run a bunch of searches and pull what the rank was and then go through and track the changes that way. That's not really an accurate way to do it anymore. The query report is a little more accurate since it is pulling the averages for everything. So you can see what's moving up and down in the search results, especially if you're comparing it to a previous data range. The landing page is also very useful because you can see how quickly your pages are starting to rank for things, and you can track it based on that. Together, it can become really powerful when you use them kind of against each other. Even though you can't directly tie things together, you can get a sense of what is working and what is not as far as SEO goes. A great example of this is we have a client who was posting a blog about an industry change. And then the next month, we noticed in their reports that all of a sudden there was a huge uptick in traffic to the website from Google. And I'll get back to that report in a second. So we went into the landing page report and we saw that it was the blog they wrote about that industry change. We went into the query report and we could see that people asking questions about that industry change, there were a few keywords that led back to it, but they all had massively spiked. And so we were able to see that there was a lot of information seeking out there about that topic, but there wasn't, they had already gained a good foothold being so quick getting it up there. We were able to leverage that, build a static page around it with more resources about that industry change, and increase their traffic through that. And those reports really led to that discovery and to being able to leverage that. Now, the report I said I would come back to is your source medium report, or if you're on the newer version of Google Analytics, it is just the traffic report, and it's where your traffic comes from. So the source medium report, I prefer to the newer one because it actually breaks down where exactly it's coming from. It's not just that it says organic search, but it tells you from organic search how much of it is Bing, how much of it is Google, how much of it's Yahoo, how much of it is DuckDuckGo. And so you're able to really see where you're performing well in there. And that can be the step one when you're doing SEO to track how your traffic is doing. There are other useful things that are in the Search Console that I don't check as often, but I do kind of check like once a month as opposed to like once or twice a week. That would be devices. So it is really useful to track how many people are coming through desktop and mobile, and it can be a leading indicator if something's going wrong on your site on one of those two platforms. Because desktop and mobile actually have slightly different algorithms when it comes to Google search results. And so you can kind of see like, oh, there's something going on with my mobile site, my mobile traffic tanked. A lot of times that's speed related. Speed is very important to the mobile algorithm. And so you can kind of use that to gauge some more nebulous ideas behind SEO. Also, back to Search Console, going in there and looking at your page speed and your experience can be very useful for tracking the health of your website. Some other things that you want to make sure are in place to really see if SEO is working well for you is you want to make sure you have your events and goals set up well, because then you can see, are people just coming in and reading the blog and leaving? Back to that Wix example, we don't do anything with Wix anymore as a company. We didn't feel like it was a good fit for our clients. And so people who are looking for how to do Wix aren't really good customers. And we see that the people coming through that search term aren't converting. So it's really like, great, we rank well for it, but it's not getting us anywhere. By having the goals and events set up, you can make sure that the people who are coming through from Google search or from Bing search or from any organic traffic are actually becoming clients, and you can adjust your strategy accordingly. It's great. Like, SEO is wonderful. I love SEO. I have been doing it for over 10 years, but if it's not ending in you getting more business, then it's not actually working. You can be number one on Google for something, and if it's not getting you business, it's worthless. So it is important to look at your goals report, filter it by that organic search traffic or by the traffic coming from Google, and make sure that it is converting. You can, on the landing page and queries report in Google Analytics, you can add your conversions and your goals in there to track it more directly, and I do encourage you to do that. And that's kind of the final piece that it will let you know if your SEO is actually working for you or if it's working against you. If you want to know more about SEO and making it work for you, I do have a SEO for Beginners course up on the Academy. You can head over to academy.bitesizedigital.com and click on courses, and it's the SEO for Beginners course. I'll also leave a link in the description below, and we really go more in depth into all of these things and how to leverage it and create content that works for you. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks. Bye.